I was born to rule the Seven Kingdoms. And I will.
Hey folks, Charlie Westeros here, and although I filmed this video once and the sound didn't work, I am back to film it a second time, and let's hope this time the sound comes out crystal clear for you all to hear me. So let's try this one more time. Hello folks, Charlie Westeros here, and I'm here to talk to you about the new Game of Thrones Season 7 trailer that just was that was just released today. I had another video prepared for you all, but obviously when the trailer comes out, I gotta talk about that way ahead of any other Game of Thrones videos I have planned. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. From the get-go, we can already tell that the conflict with the Lannisters is going to be played up this season based off of Cersei's introductory speech. For one, Daenerys' arrival at what appears to be Dragonstone, coupled with a host of unsullied soldiers entering into what appears to be a building with the symbol of the Lannister lion, makes me think that there will be an armed conflict between the Lannisters and Targaryen forces. Though Casterly Rock is one option in terms of the fighting location, I'm more inclined to believe that the warfare will at least in part take place at King's Landing, seeing how that capital has been the most prominent Lannister base of operations in Game of Thrones thus far. If that is the case, however, I can't possibly imagine the Lannister Queen being without some dirty trick up her sleeve in the face of this invasion. Last season I made a prediction that Cersei would blow up King's Landing, and although she did blow up a tiny part of it, I do wonder if this might not play into some kind of strategy to lure in Daenerys' forces, only to have them walk into a trap where the city goes up in the flames of wildfire. Sort of like what the Mad King wanted so many years prior, actually. It would be an interesting twist if, yet again, Jaime ends up preventing a Mad Monarch from falling through with such a plot, although technically he did kind of fail last season with, you know, the Sept. Regardless, that at least is just one slightly crackpotish theory I'll throw out there. All that said, the fact that we also see Dothraki forces fighting Lannister men-at-arms would seem to indicate that some fighting will take place out in the open as well, and I am very curious to see where these conflicts will take place specifically. Considering these facts, the trailer certainly makes this season seem like one of the most warfare-heavy seasons yet, anyway.
Your father and brothers are gone, yet here you stand. Last best hope against the coming storm.
Now to bring things a bit further north, I found the line delivered by Littlefinger to Sansa quite intriguing for a few reasons. In one way, it was almost like Littlefinger was trying to egg Sansa on to encourage her in some kind of manner to, I don't know, act on something, whether that's to try and force her to enter into conflict with Jon, or to maybe strike out against some other area or force in Westeros is also entirely possible. But I suspect whatever Littlefinger is plotting will only have limited success. I do think that Sansa does in some ways mirror her mother, Catelyn Stark, who had, you know, her own issues with Jon, and Sansa herself doesn't seem to have treated her brother all that well in the past either, from what we found out last season. Moreover, we also get a quick glimpse of Jon attacking Littlefinger, and assuming the Vale army is still in the north when this happens, there could be added reason to increase the tension between Jon and his supposed savior last season in the form of Littlefinger and the Knights of the Vale. One last thing to mention on Littlefinger addressing Sansa was the part of his line where he referred to her as the, quote, last best hope against the coming storm, which in the context doesn't seem to quite make sense, so I am wondering if he isn't in fact addressing someone else, like Jon Snow potentially. So on that specific part, I am very curious to hear what you folks think. Going back to my point a bit before, however, the main reason I say that Littlefinger will have limited success in causing chaos among the Starks, if that is indeed his motivation, is mainly because there are really just only 13 episodes left for the series, so not really quite enough time to build a whole other plot when, you know, the White Walkers are getting ready to strike southwards. Oh, and speaking of the White Walkers, that's the other part of Littlefinger's line I want to address. He seems to tell Sansa that all her brothers are gone. However, on the one hand, she does have a sister in Arya still out there in the world, who I generally suspect should reunite with her. And Sansa actually does have a brother that is still alive in the form of Bran Stark. I think that once the 3 remaining Stark children come together again, Littlefinger will no longer be able to hold the same sway over Sansa as he might have hoped. Back to Dragonstone, the fact that we seem to get a glimpse of Melisandre looking down at people arriving to a keep that appears to resemble Dragonstone, of course, makes me strongly believe that she will be throwing in her cause with Daenerys Targaryen. However, I do wonder if that union will be genuine, considering how convinced she was of Jon Snow's role last season. Even though Jon exiled her, I don't think she would just throw away her convictions so readily on this matter. My hunch is that she could in fact potentially act as a catalyst in uniting the forces of the King of the North and the Mother of Dragons and facing the greater threat that is the White Walkers north of the Wall. But of course, that does remain to be seen. On another note, there are a bunch of quick glimpses that make me wonder what is going on in those specific scenes. In one, for example, it looks like Ilaria Sand is making out with a woman who, at first glance, seems like she could be Theon's sister, but she could also just be a prostitute or another random woman or even a new character altogether. Another glimpse we get is a hand covered in what seems to be grayscale reaching out of a cage, and to me that automatically screams Jorah Mormont. Of course, there's no way to confirm that, but that is my immediate hunch on that matter, so I'm curious to see where he is and how he got captured. Clearly he gets in some trouble, and I hope he finds that cure and is able to go back to Westeros to help out, you know, Daenerys and Jon as well, ideally. Another quick interesting glimpse is Arya in the woods on horseback, as well as making a campfire, I think. Normally I would take this to mean she's already in the north, but considering we already see Cersei wearing a fur winter coat, it is quite clear that even the south is getting pretty chilly. Also, considering we haven't seen Nymeria since Season 1, I'm kinda sorta hoping this is an indication we'll get to see the return of the only other direwolf still alive other than Ghost. Crackpot hunch yet again, however, is that just like the last few direwolves, Nymeria, in my opinion, will probably do something like save Arya in the nick of time, right when they are reunited, but at the expense of her own life, leaving Ghost as, yet again, the last remaining direwolf in existence in Game of Thrones. But as I said, that's just, you know, crazy thought to throw out there at you. Some further final thoughts on the trailer and things in general. I love the scene where the doors to what I assume is Dragonstone open before Daenerys. Also love the ending to the trailer where Jon exclaims that the Great War is here after we get a glimpse of the Dothraki on the march with Drogon flying over them. But of course, I always love seeing the dragons. Now for some general thoughts. Overall, I thought the trailer was very nice. Didn't quite have the same intensely epic feel as the past couple, I thought, but it still did have some pretty badass moments, so I would probably give it an 8.5 out of 10 as far as GOT trailers go. There was a lot of teasing in this specific trailer, of course, that I really enjoyed nonetheless, and honestly right now I'm just so hyped for July to roll around so I can actually watch episode 1 of the upcoming 7th season of Game of Thrones. Anyway, that is all for my thoughts on this trailer specifically. Knowing my luck, I will have so many more thoughts coming up in the future, and so I just might make a follow-up video addressing any points I didn't address in this one, or any other Crackpot Season 7 ideas I might have, or especially if you guys introduce some great ideas in the comment section below that merit their own video or merit adding to a video on Season 7. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoyed. I pray this video's audio works properly this time. Comment if you feel the need to, or if you have any great thoughts to share with me, and as always, I will see you all next time.